Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area and our co-sponsor, New Jersey Hills Media, I am pleased to welcome you to our Chatham Borough Council debate. My name is Joy Treef. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area and a senior at Randolph High School. I have a strong interest in government and therefore am proud to be a part of an organization that encourages informed participation in our democracy. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization, and therefore we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. Elections and voting are our core concerns, and empowering voters defending democracy is our mission. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. Membership in the League is open to all ages and gender identities. We welcome volunteers whether or not you are a member. With 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. So with that, I would like to welcome our co-sponsor for this debate, Ms. Nicole Flanagan of the Chatham Courier of New Jersey Hills Media, to say a few words.
Thank you, Joy. My name is Nicole Flanagan. I'm a staff writer for the Chatham Courier, part of the New Jersey Hills Media Group family of 13 local newspapers in and around Morris County. The Chatham Courier has been Chatham Borough and Chatham Township's hometown source of independent news for more than 80 years. If you're not familiar with what we do, I encourage you to visit chathamcourier.com or find us in storefronts in town and consider subscribing to our paper. Our mission is to provide in-depth and balanced coverage of all things about the Chathams, including coverage of events such as this forum tonight. We provide extensive coverage of this school district and the township and borough governments, but more important, the stories of the many individuals who make up these towns and the issues that affect them. In recent years, we have converted to nonprofit status under our new parent company, the locally owned Corporation for New Jersey Local Media. The organization was founded to ensure the survival and the growth of the Chatham Courier and our sister newspapers so that we may sustain and improve upon our tradition of providing quality local news from trained journalists at a time when local news outlets are disappearing. We are honored to partner with the League of Women Voters of the Morris area to co-sponsor this forum. The League and the Chatham Courier share a core common mission: to inform and engage residents on the local issues that affect their everyday lives. An informed electorate is an empowered electorate, and we thank the League and all three candidates tonight for their commitment to keeping the public informed. Thank you.
Thank you. We encourage everyone to go to vote411.org, a one-stop site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey. And please visit our website to learn more about the Morris Area League. Remember to make your vote count and vote in one of three ways. The first way is to vote by mail ballot if you signed up for that. The second way is early in person using a voting machine from Saturday, October 25th, 2025 to Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. No appointment is necessary. Or third, in person on Tuesday, November 4th. Also, this debate is being live streamed on the Morris Area League of Women Voters YouTube channel and will be available there for viewing afterwards. Other language captions will be available tomorrow on the stream. We encourage the sharing of the League's recording of this event in its entirety, but do not allow editing or making public any excerpts from this recording. The League's name, logo, event recording, or any materials from the event cannot be used in a way that could lead a viewer or a reader to infer League support of or opposition to a candidacy. So at this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Ms. Michelle Bobrow. Michelle is a League-trained moderator who is not from this voting district. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. As you heard, I am Michelle Bobrow, League of Women Voters of Maplewood South Orange, so I do not have any vested interest in this event, and I'm delighted to be your moderator. The candidates are, in the order that they are on your ballot: Joseph Barrett, I'm going to get it right, Karen Karanovitz, and Miles Gilmore. The format for this evening is each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement in the order in which they are on the ballot. Questions have been previously submitted by email and vetted by the League of Women Voters and the Chatham Courier for relevance and timeliness. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each of those submitted questions with a 30-second rebuttal if requested. And I will reserve the right to edit or reword a question for clarity and pertinence. And candidates will then give closing statement of up to 2 minutes. The timekeeper will hold up a yellow card indicating 30 seconds and a red card for stop. The candidates have been notified that they may finish a sentence, no semicolons, and I urge you to hold your applause until the end to give the candidates the maximum time to respond. Now, opening statement, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you to the League and New Jersey Hills for hosting the event, and also to my fellow candidates, Karen and Korinkevich and Miles Gilmore. For those that don't know, my name is Joe Barrett. I've lived in Chatham for the last 15 years, and during the week you'll find me riding the trains back and forth from New York City. And I'm running for Borough Council and looking for your support. I'm a husband to my incredible wife, Lisa, who's here with me tonight. Father of 2 amazing boys. I've been a community volunteer in many capacities since my time here. Right now, I've been a leader in Troop 28 and the Scoutmaster there. I've also been a member of our zoning board for the last 4 years. In my professional career, I've done about 20 years or so in commercial real estate, and prior to that, I spent time in municipal finance with a specialty in affordable housing. And so, why does this matter to voters from my perspective, and how am I qualified to serve the community? My leadership background and career experience, I think uniquely qualifies me for the council, given the challenges that the borough is facing and will continue to face over time. I think that how can I make a difference in Chatham? Once elected, I would focus on 3 specific areas: smart redevelopment, downtown revitalization, and embracing community engagement. Look, we need to grow our tax base. We have to smarten up on how we handle our development. We got to fill our vacant storefronts. And I think, in conjunction with that, we have to deal with infrastructure and traffic issues. But in doing that, we have to preserve our community. We have to maintain our small town charm, our good schools. We have to continue partnering with our first responders. And I think we can accomplish this by embracing community engagement. And I think there's more that unites us than divides us. So I think we must foster an open dialogue, recognize our volunteers, and embrace diversity of our town.
Thank you very much. Ms. Korinkevich.
I would like to thank Korinkevich, but yes. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters of the Morris area and New Jersey Hills Media for hosting this event. I am Karen Korinkevich, and I'm running for council for a 3rd term. For a little background on me, I've lived in Chatham on Lincoln Avenue for over 23 years. I chose Chatham in part for an easy commute, but more importantly, because I was attracted to Chatham's charm, especially its downtown. I have a science and business background, having worked managing clinical trials, building brands, and developing innovation, and negotiating licensing and acquisition deals for large pharmaceutical and food businesses. When I first ran for office, I promised to diligently research issues, seek expert knowledge if needed, and understand all points of view before I draw any conclusions. I also promised to treat Chatham's budgetary decisions as though it is my own money, because in small part, it is. I believe that I have lived up to that promise, and am proud of my accomplishments. I have overseen a budget that has kept the municipal portion of the tax bill at or below 2%, maintained our AAA bond rating, and prepared for the future with plans to eliminate service on our debt. I have been active in maintaining the beauty and charm of Chatham through increasing the tree canopy and improving the safety of certain intersections. I've also helped ensure that Chatham has met and continues to meet our affordable housing obligations. I am running for election for a 3rd term because I believe there is more to do, and I am prepared to help Chatham as it works through its future challenges. I again promise to take a pragmatic view and listen to all points of view. I will work hard to ensure that decisions related to spending, redevelopment, and preserving the small town charm of Chatham are thoughtfully made, practical, and in the best interest of Chatham. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore.
Dear Chatham residents, first I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chatham Courier for sponsoring this important forum and the critical work you do on voter education, rights, and outreach. I thank Karen for being a great partner in this campaign and Joe Barrett for being here so we can have this debate. Since it's my first time up here, I should explain who I am. We have lived in Chatham for over 13 years. We send our kids to Chatham Public Schools. I'm a member of the Shade Tree Commission, an assistant scoutmaster in Troop 8 Boy Scouts, and a member of the Hometown Heroes Advisory Board. I'm very active in the community. Although this is my first time seeking elected office, my commitment to public service runs very deep. In 1986, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army and entered directly onto active duty. I served for a total of 28 years, active and reserve service, including one deployment in support of the Second Gulf War. I'm now retired as Lieutenant Colonel. These experiences were formative for me. It helps me to go back to the Army's values, and there are a couple that are really relevant to being a good elected official too. Respect, selfless service, honor, and integrity. Doing what is right, legally and morally, even when no one is watching. As a borough council person, you can count on me to live up to those values every day. My civilian experience is broad and relevant. For nearly 40 years, I've had many commercial and operations roles in large and small companies. Having served in the military for a planning agency as well, I possess the skills required for a public role. While we do many things very well in this borough, I will always treat each resident's concerns with respect and seriousness, and do what I can to address those concerns. I've already started paving the way by meeting with many in Borough Hall, to include our administrator and CFO, DPW, and the fire and police chiefs. This will help me get off to a running start. I would be honored to have your support. Together, we can make Chatham even better than it is.
Thank you. And now for the questions. The first one. The current affordable housing plan has met with opposition, including legal challenges. What will you do to ensure that affordable housing is built in Chatham, is available for, and will meet the needs of local residents while answering to the general consensus of the community? Ms. Korakovich.
Sure. Yeah, I think we have an obligation to meet our fourth round affordable housing obligation. And we have put forward a plan that was put together with the planning board and endorsed by the council. And I think this plan does meet our affordable housing obligations for the fourth round in quite a very thoughtful way. We have several plots identified, and we have an overlay zone to handle our unmet needs. So I think we have put forward the plan that Chatham needs. I know it has been challenged, but I think these challenges can be overcome and through our attorneys, and we will work through that process. Thank you.
Mr. Gilmore.
It's important to note that I'm a relative newcomer to this highly complicated issue. And I know that I attended all the meetings for the round 4 affordable housing plan. And I realized that it evokes a lot of strong feelings in the community. Since it's already been endorsed, I took the approach of when I was out canvassing, I always talk to residents and ask them what are their concerns, because we can't look backwards. We should be looking forwards, and we should always be concerned with how we're going to handle the next round. So you can count on me in the next round, and there probably will be a next round unless the law changes, to listen to residents and to be active and pay attention to all the details of this very complex issue, and make sure that we balance what we legally are required to do with what Chatham residents actually want. Thank you.
Mr. Barrett.
Thank you. Look, I think that it is the New Jersey law that we have to comply with the affordable housing requirements. However, from my perspective, we knew this was coming for years. Despite the fact that we got our number late in 2024, there was plenty of time to think about how to address the need to develop some form of housing. And from my perspective, it was all done behind closed doors. The public was given a very limited amount of time to comment on it, and none of the public comments were really incorporated into the plan. Now, from my perspective, we're supposed to be redoing our master plan this year. we should have been thinking about this 2 years ago and working through, hey, what are our options? We're going to get a number, whatever it might be. We should have been thinking about this 2 years prior to the actual number coming out so that we can get feedback from the public. We can work with developers to design and develop buildings that will enhance our downtown and preserve our community feel.
Thank you.
I'd like to
Yes.
rebut. Yeah, I take exception to the idea that the public was not informed of our plan. We actually had 5 meetings. We were only legally obligated to have 1 meeting. We had 5. We had 3 at the planning board. 1 included the public hearing, and we had 2 at the council. 1 did include the endorsement. The public did have time to comment, and they did. And we actually did incorporate comments that the public had by reducing the density of our overlay zone. So I take exception that we don't listen to the public. We clearly do, and we gave them time to see the plan and comment on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we say, look, I realize that the public was allowed to come and speak at the meeting, but I will say that it was done on June 18th, which was a Thursday. The following Monday, the council voted. If it was voted no, there was absolutely nothing that can be done because we had to submit by June 30th. 1 council member had the guts to actually stand up and say vocally that the public, it's on the record, the public opinions were not taken into consideration. And if I'm not mistaken, in the press, you even called them out for it. My point is look, the plan is what it is, and we have to move forward. But I think that if the Borough Council is looking forward, we can plan 5 years out, 10 years out, knowing this is coming.
Thank you. Another easy subject. Pilots, payments in lieu of taxes, have been used as an incentive to developers to invest in our communities with staggered tax percentages to the municipality for the duration of the agreement, while delaying contributions to the school base until the term is ended. Do you support the use of pilots in spurring development? Why or why not? And how would you initiate movement in the community? Mr. Gilmore.
I think that you can't just say you support or don't support pilot agreements. I think that you really have to, as I said in my opening statement, you really have to look at all the facts. You have to gather the facts, and sometimes pilot agreements might be a good tool to negotiate with developers and to get concessions from them. And you have to use the money wisely for the pilot agreement. So, but in other cases, maybe it's not such a good idea. You really have to evaluate each project and each need on its own merits and base it on that.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett.
I agree with Mr. Gilmore in that you have to assess each situation independently. I mean, historically, pilots were designed for to fix blighted areas. Most of Chatham, I would say, is far from blighted. That being said, we can, again, this gets back to my earlier comment about thinking ahead and smart planning. If we are going to use a pilot, we can use it to influence the designs of a building, maybe make them smaller so that they fit with the character of the town. And that's where I think it can be advantageous. And then how the money's used, I think that we should decide after the fact based on our decision.
Thank you. Ms. Korakevich.
You can call me Karen if you prefer.
I'm working very hard on it.
No, you can call me Karen. Yeah, pilots, it really depends on the situation and the area that you're trying to work with the developer on. Some buildings wouldn't have been built had a pilot not been available. I think when we look back and look at the pilot agreement that we had, I think we got concessions from the developer. I think we got a good project on a site that was toxic, and we got it cleaned up. I think that was a good use of a pilot. I think in the future, we have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. You can't just say, yes, pilots are great, but pilots can help the town manage its finances in a way that the tax base that you would get from a building would not. We were able to have taxes be at 1.7% this year rather than 5.6%. Because we had the pilot, and because we worked through the budget in using that pilot money. Thank you.
Thank you. Communication is essential for trust between the governing body and the residents of the community. How would you work to improve dialogue among all the parties involved and enhance the perception of transparency of local government? Mr. Gilmore.
So I think I've got a couple of ideas on that. With the vast increase in online information and where people find the information they need, I think it's even more important to have clear and concise communication, which will cut through the clutter. Many people are very active on social media. I think we could probably do more to strengthen our presence on some platforms like Instagram, which primarily tends to skew younger, to get in touch with younger people. I'm also open to ideas about putting hot topics on the landing page of Chatham Borough's website so that people can easily find the information they need. We also have a communications and technology committee that is listed on the website that is not really active at the moment. I think we could reactivate that and give them the mission to find ways to connect with the public and be more transparent. So those are some ideas that I would have about transparency and increasing better communication.
Thank you. I'm going to try it one more time. Ms. Karankiewicz.
Sure. Yes. I think I agree with Miles in some of the ways that we could use social media in a better way. I think we have a great tool called Constant Contact. And I think what I hear from residents is that they don't always know when discussion items are happening. They don't always know what topics are happening at a meeting. And I think, maybe we could use the use of Constant Contact to have a blast, to tell people what's coming up at a particular meeting so they know if they want to dial in or if they want to participate or not. I think there are other social media uses. Miles mentioned Instagram. I think we could use that in a better way. I know we use a lot of Facebook, but as you can see, as the residents get younger, that's not always the favorite tool of social media. So through Constant Contact and using our website and using Instagram, I think we could do a better job in making sure people are informed of what's happening at a particular meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett?
Look, I think the borough has done a really good job of managing their website, putting up information on the website. It is accessible to the public. But I think communication and embracing community engagement is about having a dialogue with the public. And my biggest issue with the current borough process is the 4-minute rule at Borough Council with no opportunity for the public to come back up and ask follow-up questions. We get 4 minutes, we say our piece, then we get some answer from the council that usually defers the issue to something else, and then there's no opportunity for comebacks. And most importantly, the council is not interacting with the public. It is the lawyer that we pay to sit over there that is actually telling the public, oh, you have 2 minutes left, you have 1 minute left. And I think the borough current council needs to engage directly with the public more than the lawyers.
Thank you.
I'd like to rebut that.
Sure.
The 4-minute rule was really put into place to allow residents to have time to talk to us and not have this constant back and forth as though it's a conversation. It's public comment. You come up, you make your comment. 4 minutes is more than enough time to make your point, and I think it's been proved that people that get up, they take the 4 minutes. That's the time that they need. We understand what they're saying. We then answer any questions. We try our best to address their comments. And our attorney is only involved when it is legal aspects of the question, not overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm going to give one simple example. When we moved from the garbage cans, from the green bags to the garbage cans last year, I did have a question about it because we started getting raccoons and other animals, and I brought it up to the council, and the response was there are services in town that you can pay to have your garbage cans washed. That was the response that I got from the council. It's on the record. It was last summer. Those are the type of answers that we get, and it would be nice for the public to be able to come up and ask clarifying questions. And the lawyers do tend to kick people off the stand more than they should, in my opinion.
There are many different forms of local government allowable in New Jersey. Should another form be investigated? Do you favor a partisan or nonpartisan form of municipal government, and why? Ms. Karankovich.
Yeah, we have the borough form of government here in Chatham Borough, which allows for a strong council, weak mayor. The borough elects the council members and the mayor. Other towns elect a council or a committee, and the committee elects the mayor. I think this is a strong use of our government capabilities. I think having a strong council, making recommendations, and having a mayor that is there for guidance on the agenda, and then also to break any ties that the council may have. I think that's a very good way to have a council. I think as far as being nonpartisan, there's not a Democrat or Republican way to fill a pothole. Tip O'Neill used to say that all the time, and I agree. I think it allows some structure. It allows some basis of helping people run for office. And I think that's important because it gets people involved. And anything that gets more people involved, I think is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, I think that was well said. I would only add, though, that, look, I think that the way, in general, America is founded as a constitutional republic. It allows for a representative government so that people can go about their daily lives and not have to worry about what's happening day to day. And they trust their elected representatives to act in their best interest. So I think it is important to recognize the different political parties and different ideas. One of my perspectives is that currently the town is 51% independent, 25% Democrat, 25% Republican, and we are 100% Republican council, Democrat council. So I do think we need some more diversity on the council, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore.
Yeah, I think that the borough system here in Chatham seems to work quite well. I'm not saying that I would be opposed to investigating another way of governing the borough, but I think Karen nailed it when she said that really your party shouldn't really make any difference in how the borough is run. We should be about looking at facts, responding to residents, solving problems, and doing so efficiently and as cost effectively as possible. And I think that I have a lot of friends that are staunch Republicans, Trump supporters. I have a lot of friends that are progressive liberals. I listen to all of them. I don't think it should shut things down. I think that we all have to listen to each other and try to understand each other. So I think we do have a pretty good representative body that's diverse in its perspectives. We also have Republicans on our committees and commissions. Let's not forget that too. That they're very active on the commissions. That makes a big difference too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add one?
Yes.
I would add, I think the town is run extremely well. We have an amazing administrative staff. We have a professional staff that runs the day-to-day business of the town. But when I look at the agendas that are put forth at most council meetings, in many instances, look, I get it. There are resolutions that are necessary. We have to acknowledge the diversity within the town. However, there are many things that are just irrelevant to the town that I think our council gets involved in. And my personal opinion is we should stay focused on fixing the potholes.
On a slightly different topic, there is a perception that the council votes in lockstep on many issues without debate or differing perspectives. How would you answer the charge that decisions are made before the matters come to the council? And how would you make the debate more open and visible, Mr. Barrett?
I absolutely agree that there is no discussion, no debate whatsoever on the DS during the council meetings. Every once in a while, somebody will come up with a comment or prepared statement. However, with the budget, when the budget meeting this year, there was very little conversation, questions. Even if the council members know, they should put it on the record and ask questions of our CFO, of our town administrator, so that the public can hear what's happening. They should be presenting the math for the public on how the pilot works. Why is it beneficial? Why is it not beneficial? Whatever the answer might be. From my perspective, we have groupthink. The town is there's very little debate within the current council, and I think in the long run that will hurt our town. I think we need more discussion for the public benefit.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore.
I think you can count on me that I'll be asking a lot of questions, right? So I will make sure that that the questions are generated based on my need to know the facts to make a good decision. They'll also be based on people that I've talked to in town, right? So I've made a point of, for example, we talked about the affordable housing plan. I've wanted to knock on every single door on my street and all of the neighboring streets because I know that this is a really important issue for this town. So I'll listen to anybody that'll take the time to talk to me. So my questions will come out of a need to understand the facts, and I will be questioning the CFO in every budget and reflecting what residents want to know about how we spend our money. So I think that it runs pretty well right now, but you can count on me that I'll be asking questions about the way things are done.
Thank you. Ms. Korenkevich.
You know, I think having performances at council is not really helpful. I mean, we're here to get the business done. And really, we're here to do the homework. And we need to do the homework ahead of time, have those conversations with our professionals, review the material, ask questions, and have a good understanding before we get into this chamber. This is not a place where we perform and we, just have this wandering discussion. This is a place where we get the business done. We come, we have our homework done ahead of time, and if we have questions and we need to bring our professionals in to have discussion items, we've done that. We've had all of our department heads present their finance budget, and we've had a chance to ask questions. I may not have asked a lot of questions during it because I asked a lot of questions when I met with them ahead of time. And that's what you want. You want people who do their homework, and that's what we have done. Thank you.
Yes.
Look, I appreciate the work that you do. I guess one of the things that I would be interested in hearing more about is, yes, you're having these discussions back room, and you're getting the details and understanding the facts to set the budget, but why not, for the benefit of the public, come and it's not a show, it is to educate the public and help them understand where you're spending their tax dollars. Why not do that in a more public forum for the benefit of the public?
We did that by having our professionals present line item by line item their budget and their requests. And then we had another discussion with our CFO when she collated all that information and presented a budget. And that is how it works. That's how we get our answers to our questions. And that's how the budget had changed. She explained the changes that she made, the things that she took out from the things that they had presented. And I think that provided a lot of information for the public. I'm sorry that you weren't able to make all those discussions, but perhaps that was part of your issue. Thank you.
Do I get one more shot at the question? Okay.
No. However, we have another opportunity for another subject.
Okay.
What is the role of local government in addressing environmental issues? What can be done within our boundaries that will ensure that we can meet environmental challenges, balancing the environment and budget constraints? Mr. Barrett.
I will be honest, environment is not my specialty. I will say, though, that, again, the one thing I am pretty familiar with is with real estate development, there are environmental concerns. There are, if there's a site cleanup, to Ms. Korenkevich's point earlier about the ivy, those are the areas where I think the borough can be active in working with real estate owners to work through cleaning up redevelopment opportunities and getting sites cleaned up. I mean, honestly, we're a small town. We deal with some typical environmental issues, but that's a global, national issue from my perspective. And we hire experts as needed to deal with that. And we take issues one at a time.
Ms. Korenkevich.
So I think stewardship of the environment is on a local level. I mean, we all live in this environment, so it's important for us to make sure that we're good stewards of the environment. And whatever we can do, a little bit goes a long way. We have authorized the DPW to buy their first hybrid pickup truck. We think that is helping us to get a little bit away from fossil fuels. I think that's important. We have also banned pesticides on our fields. I think that's important. Our children are breathing in all kind of toxic chemicals when they play. I think those are the kind of things that we can do, and we have done, and we'll continue to look for other things. We continue to look for solar energy at our joint meeting. That's our sewer authority. And we'll continue to look at other ways that we can enhance the environment, especially through the use of electric vehicles and the like. Thank you.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yeah, so I believe that stewardship of the environment is both a pragmatic and a moral issue. I'm also involved in the Boy Scout organization. We always tell our scouts to leave things in better condition than you found them. So I think that has environmental overtones to it, that we should always try to do things that leave the planet a better place than we found it, right? We also have to recognize, I don't know if a lot of Chatham Borough residents know this, but we get our water from a well, right? It's drawn off an aquifer. So we should be very concerned about the quality of the water and runoff that's going into the ground. I think that it's a good example, if you don't believe that the environment is important, I think you should ask your kids or ask a young person, because I think you get a very strong answer that it absolutely is important. So we have to be responsive to our young people. We have to be responsible for people who do care. And the example that Karen gave about removing pesticides and herbicides from the fields around Shepherd Collock Park, for example, is a good example, because it's responding. It's not just doing environmental things for its own sake. It's responding to what residents want. So I think we should be responsive, and we should always try to make the planet a better place.
Thank you. Yes.
Look, I appreciate both your comments. That is an area that it is important. I will ask, though, just a couple things, like the hybrid truck is more expensive and probably not that pragmatic when guys working in the field have to leave it out all day, need the truck running. So I'm curious as to why that decision came into play, and having to have chargers, et cetera, around. Also, we talk about pesticides on fields. Most of the fields our kids play on, I think, have been converted to turf. There is some issues with turf and the harm that it can do to kids. And then again, like one of my favorite topics is the plastic bag ban, that I think some take credit for starting here in Chatham, when it's already been proven, like article in the Courier I think last week or 2 weeks ago, the only one that benefits from that are the plastic companies.
Thank you.
We need to make better decisions and a little bit more pragmatic. Do no harm is the way we should be approaching it.
I'd like to rebut. A hybrid truck isn't an electric vehicle. It's a hybrid, so it uses gas and it uses electric, and you don't plug it in, is my understanding. So I think this is a good step forward for us to see how practical it is, and if it could work for us. And I think it's one truck, and I think it was accepted by our DPW. They were excited to get it, and I think it's supporting our needs to at least make some effort to get away from fossil fuels and reduce our gasoline usage, which also reduce our costs.
Yeah, I don't think the Lightning is a hybrid. I think it's a 100%
The next
electric.
issue is trees. The council has a plan to remove all but one of the shade trees at 58th North Passaic Avenue. Is this acceptable, and for what purpose? Ms. Karenkevich.
I don't think we have a plan to remove trees from 58 North Passaic. What we have a plan is to use that lot that was unused, that's a borough-owned lot that we have no use for, and to allow a nonprofit company to come in and build affordable housing. So 4 units are planned to be built. It's a beautiful rendition of a house that looks like a single-family house when you look at it from the front, but would be 4 apartments, and they would be all affordable. I think that's a good use of borough-owned land. I understand there's a few trees on it. I think that we will be doing as much as we can to preserve those trees. A lot has to happen with this plan. It has to go through the planning board. It has to be accepted. And if there's any zoning variances, they would have to go through that as well. So I think there's a lot that needs to happen, but I think this is a good use of borough land to allow for affordable housing and to meet our 4th round obligations. Thank you.
Mr. Gilmore.
This is an issue that's really important to me. I've been on the Shade Tree Commission for 2.5 years now. And I think that it's really, the tree canopy in this town is extremely important to our property values too. So whether or not you care about trees, I think one of the things that makes Chatham a beautiful town is the foliage and the tree canopy that we have in this town. And with the emerald ash borer and the beech leaf disease and the drought that we had last fall, which was unprecedented in New Jersey's history, right? The lack of rain that we had last fall, it's really stressing trees out. And we all have seen the dead ashes around. We need to preserve the trees that we have. And I think that it's really important. I think if you attended the public meeting about the affordable housing plan, one thing that was addressed very specifically by Colleen Trupo, our chairperson on the Shade Tree Commission, was that she wanted to make sure that the trees that existed on 58 North Passaic were preserved. So I think that would be important to me, and I think we should do everything that we can to do so. Thank you.
Mr. Barrett?
Yeah, I don't know how you keep any trees if you're going to build four buildings on 58 North. You have to cut the trees down in order to accomplish that goal. But that, I guess we'll decide that in the future. I guess my other question really is, in the thinking of 58 North Passaic, that's an R2 zone, which means you can build apartments, but all of Memorial Park is zoned the same. So my question to the current council is, if we have to build more, what's to stop you from using all of Memorial Park to build housing? Why would we give up public land? There are plenty of other development sites. We have 2 lawsuits already filed with more appropriate sites. So to cut down the trees, build there, potentially go to Memorial Park down the road as a precedent, I struggle with the decision to do that.
58 North Passaic is not a park. It's a lot that's adjacent to a park. We would never destroy our parks in order to build affordable housing unless we were forced to in a builder's remedy. Our affordable housing plan is such that we won't be forced into a builder's remedy, and we have allowed for affordable housing, and I think that's important. This was an unused lot. I know at some point in the county it does say it's a park. It was never meant to be a park. It doesn't make sense as a park. It's an offshoot next to a baseball diamond. It really wouldn't work as part of the park. I think it's ridiculous that you would even suggest that the council would destroy parks. That's really shocking.
Can I add to that?
Did you
No,
before? You already had
I
one.
thought that was my 1 minute.
Did he have an extra? Yes.
Okay. I understand the decisions that have to be made in order to satisfy the state. That being said, yes, 58 North Passaic was a house at one point. It is now open space directly adjacent to Memorial Park. They are all in the same zone. If my understanding is correct, that at some point the town could develop Memorial Park given the current zoning. It is not set aside as conservation. And so you're effectively setting a precedent for future councils to do the same as needed.
Thank you. Totally different. That doesn't work. What would each of you do to get the 15-unit affordable housing built in the post office plaza as soon as possible? Mr. Gilmore?
So Post Office Plaza, as I understand it, goes way back to almost before I even had gray hair. So I really don't know that much about it. It came up 10 years ago, and I'm still gathering facts on that development. I don't have much more than that, other than the fact that we should listen to the people and stick to the plan. Mr.
Barrett?
According to the borough and the press, we did start the development of those 15 units. The official groundbreaking, I think, happened in February. So from my perspective, why it hasn't started being built, I would love to know the answer to that, but I think that's only something the council can answer. But my understanding is that it effectively broke ground.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true. We did have the groundbreaking. The ground hasn't been broken per se, but I think it seems like a lot needs to happen before a building gets built, and then all of a sudden, once they start building, it's up in a flash. So I think the planning and the review process is happening. I'm not exactly sure what's happening behind the scenes, but I wouldn't be surprised if the day they start to build, it goes up very quickly. So I think we've done what we need to do, and the nonprofit is working through the process of getting that building built. Thank you.
The questioner didn't do his or her homework. How do you feel? Would you have voted if you were not on the council? Would you or would you not have voted for or against the housing element and fair share plan of the master plan? What are its best points and its worst? Mr. Gilmore.
So, for starters, I think I'm still. I think I mentioned before that this is an extremely complicated issue, and I'm still gathering the facts. And I'm not really, at this point, I'm not really able to say how I would have voted because I wasn't involved in the whole process. I started running when the plan was coming out, right? But I will say that, I want to look forward, and I want to look forward to the next round, which is coming. We don't know when that's going to be released, but there is going to be a fifth round unless the law changes. And let's try to learn from what went well and what didn't go well in this last round. Let's try to be as open and transparent as possible. Let's work with the state to see if we can get our requirements earlier than we did this time, because I think that was part of the problem in this past plan, that we didn't get the requirements until late in the process. So let's be proactive and listen to our residents and do what's right for the town.
Thank you. Ms. Karenkevich.
So I did vote for the plan. I think the plan is a practical plan. It actually exceeds the number of RDP units, the number that we're required to build, and it meets the unmet need portion of, by law, the portion of the unmet need that we need to ensure that there's zoning for. We've done that. We've met that fourth round housing obligation. It's before the courts now. It is being challenged. And we'll see what happens from those challenges, but we'll continue to work with our professionals to get this plan approved, and we can move on from it. Thank you.
Mr. Barrett.
Look, it's easy for me to sit here and say, no, I wouldn't have voted for it. So I'm not going to say that. What I will say, though, is, given the history of Post Office Plaza, right, that was a long, drawn-out, litigated situation where the council couldn't even agree on how to move forward with it. It ultimately got turned down, and we now have our 15 units that was broken ground earlier this year. We know these requirements are coming. Yes, we don't know numbers, but we know how it works, fundamentally speaking. We should be planning for this in our master plan years out and working with property owners with development plans. We cannot do this in 6 months. It is impossible. And we're going to make mistakes that were made for Post Office Plaza. They were made again here, as evident by the complaints. I agree with Ms. Karenkevich. We have to wait until that plays out for the rest of the year to see what the result is. But there is no excuse to jam this down everybody's throat in 6 months. We can be planning for this years out.
Thank you.
I'd like to rebut.
Yes.
I think it's fascinating that Mr. Barrett has brought up Post Office Plaza, and yet in a prior question, he said that the council goes lockstep and we all vote the same way. Well, that was a very big decision. The council was actually split 3-3. The mayor made the final vote in that decision. So I can't imagine that we actually are lockstep, even though we are one party. Thank you.
I would agree. That's one particular vote that folks didn't agree. And what happened? That mayor was effectively not allowed to rerun. And the other council member who voted no, she opted not to run this year. Maybe folks haven't treated them well. I'm not sure. But to me, it just, from what I understand, if you do not go in lockstep and there is dissent among the ranks, you lose your support internally.
Yes.
I want to say something. So 2 things. First of all, it's one of the things that I've tried to do in a proactive fashion. A lot of the comments here are backwards looking, and I don't like to look that way, right? I mean, this post office plaza what happened like 7 or 8 years ago, and we're still talking about it. I mean, we already had the groundbreaking, and it's probably going to get built. Let's look forward. And so one thing that I've done as a candidate was to get out in my neighborhood and talk to people on the street, especially the ones that are impacted by the so-called overlay zone. So I'll always listen to you and take your input. Thank you.
Can I just add one thing? Look, it is important to look forward. We have to, right? The past is the past. We can't change it. However, we need to study it and learn from it so that we can not make the same mistakes over and again. I think Einstein said something like, doing the same thing over and over again and thinking you're going to get a different result. That's the definition of insanity. So we need to change things and move forward.
Well, we have an easy one now. What are your budget priorities? What items would you recommend be either increased or decreased in 1 minute? Ms. Korenkevich.
First we need to make sure that we have a stable tax base, and we also try to keep our taxes as low as possible and yet our services as high as possible. I think there are several areas that we can look to in order to put us in a better financial position. And one of those is reducing our service on our debt. It makes up about 12-13% of our budget. The less borrowing that we do, the less servicing of the debt we need to do. And I think that is an excellent way to save money and have us on a footing that we pay as we go. And I think that's something that we're working with our financial advisor. When you talk about looking ahead, we have a 10-year plan, and we're looking to do that over those next 10 years. Thank you.
Mr. Barrett.
Look, we have a professional staff to manage the town finances. The council's there to advise, to vote, to approve. I think we are tremendously lucky to have the team of people we have working for the town. We live in New Jersey. Taxes are high. I don't think I've ever seen them go down. I don't expect them to go down. We need to be looking 4, 5, 10 years out and thinking about how do we grow the tax base. This is done through smart planning, redevelopment, increasing the tax rolls. We have to increase the revenue side. We have cut the budget to the point where it is very well managed, and we're lucky. But we need to increase the tax revenue through revitalizing the downtown, smart redevelopment, and that's the way to keep costs down to the residents.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore.
I think it's really important to maintain and improve the tax base. I also think that I just want to point out, since a lot of you don't know me that well yet, that I'm an extremely frugal person, to the point where my family even kind of jokes to me about it. I drive a 13-year-old car, and I'm the kind of guy that brings my lunch to work. So, I'm a person that is going to take the budget very seriously, and I want to find every way that we can save money that we can. So I take that very personally. I think that we can do a lot more, and I have a couple of ideas here to improve the tax base that we get right now, right? For example, Stanley Center. Stanley Center is a beautiful facility that I think is kind of underutilized right now. So maybe there's opportunities for us to have people from out of town use that for special events, and we could generate revenue that way. So, but I'm always open to listen to residents' ideas, and if you have ideas, once I'm elected to council, please do send them to me, and I'll always listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you. What improvements, if any, to the infrastructure are needed, and what would you recommend to accomplish this? Mr. Barrett.
So again, I think there's so many issues in the town that we are lucky to have a professional staff.
The infrastructure.
Well, like Department of Public Works, they maintain the infrastructure, the stores. You see them working, cleaning, repairing all the time. I think, and from what I've seen and heard, we have a good plan that we continue to maintain the constant maintenance of our items. I do know that One of the big issues is the water pumps. With the construction of larger apartment buildings, we need to have more water for fire safety, for drinking water. So there are items there that I think there is a plan to add another pump, if I'm not mistaken. But these are things that, again, they're coming after the fact. So we need to be looking forward to and planning better based on development in order to not be behind on that.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore?
So I spent about an hour and a half a month ago with Tony Torello down at the Department of Public Works, and I thought it's fascinating to talk about the infrastructure. And so the borough of Chatham has 3 pumps, right? There's 2 that are active almost all the time. There's 1 that almost never gets used, right? So I think we have enough capacity for pumping. I think and it's important to point out that I think that the town is looking forward a little bit, that there's a refurbishment of pump number 2 that's planned for next year, and it's in next year's budget. So I would encourage anybody that's interested. Mr. Torello is there at like 6 a.m. so you can go there before work and still catch the 7:20 train. I'm sure he'd be willing to host or do a Zoom. Also, the police department, I consider that part of the infrastructure too, because these men and women need good equipment, right? And I think that the borough has done a great job of updating their equipment and providing them things they need to do their jobs effectively. Thank you.
Ms. Garnkowitz?
Yeah, so as part of the budgeting process, we actually have a 10-year capital improvement plan. We actually plan out our capital expenses that we foresee occurring, whether that be additional police cars, whether that be DPW equipment, whether that be water pump or sewer infrastructure that is needed. I think one area that we could look at a little bit more is sidewalks. We did have a program at one time where the sidewalks were being continually updated. I think we've because of budget constraints and other things that we needed to do, we've gotten a little away from that. I think we need to just make sure that we have a program for all our sidewalks to be upgraded as needed. We have done an excellent job of what's called I&I, and it's part of the irrigation of our water systems and our drainage. We've done an excellent job of that. We actually are reducing our usage of the sewers because we've done a great maintenance project over the I&I. So we do maintain our equipment, we do maintain all of our systems, and we need to just continue doing that. Thank you.
How do you plan to maintain property taxes while meeting the increasing needs of the residents? Mr. Barrett?
Well, I think I'm just going to kind of reiterate what I had said before. We live in New Jersey. The cost, structurally, the state, county, and municipalities, it's a very complicated process in terms of how the taxes work. And unfortunately, I think it's a broken system. We have some of the highest taxes in the country. I don't see a solution anytime soon. So this gets back to my concept of we need to grow alternative revenue sources through smart commercial development, bringing in new businesses downtown, revitalizing. We have a lot of vacant storefronts downtown. We're missing a lot of services that we used to have, banks, grocery stores. These are things that will bring people into the downtown, spend money, add to the revenue. So I think we need to be looking 5 to 10 years out on how we actually grow the revenue, alternative revenue streams, and that will, in turn, should reduce the specific burden on residents.
Thank you. Ms. Garnkowitz?
Yeah, so, I mean, the municipal portion of your tax bill is about 19%. You get a lot of services for that 19%. And I think it's important for us to look at every aspect of that budget to make sure that anything that we can do to save money, we are. If there are fees that we need to increase, we've done that, and we've looked at adding additional fees based on people using the particular service. So we need to continue to do that. We need to continue to look at shared services. But again, I go back to service on the debt. The less debt we borrow, the less money we have to pay on interest. So I think that's a very important way so that we can reduce the tax burden. And as far as businesses downtown. These businesses already pay property tax. That's the taxes that they pay. There's no sales tax that goes to a municipality. That goes to the state. So if there's a business there, or if there isn't, to be honest, we get the property taxes. So I'm not sure exactly how that would change, but in Mr. Barrett's plan. But I think there are areas that we can look at, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore?
So I agree with everything that Karen said. I think that's important to try to eliminate our debt and pay that off as quickly as possible, and avoid the position of having to take on new debt. I think I don't know if Chatham Borough residents know this, but really of the property tax bill that you get, only 20% of that actually is used by the borough. The rest of it is a pass-through, right? So it goes to the school system, it goes to Morris County, and it goes to the library. That's the other 80%. So it's really, you're looking at a small sliver of your tax bill. If you pay $10,000, you're only paying $2,000 to Chatham Borough, and I think you get a lot of services for that money. So I'm also in favor of increasing our tax base too, but we do have to do it smart and not change the character of Chatham in a way that would be disadvantageous for us and our property values. Thank you.
Just one note, you're right. We get no sales tax revenue from businesses, but if we are smart about how we plan the downtown redevelopment to meet our affordable housing needs, you can increase retail storefronts, more businesses move in, that increases the value of property, which increases the assessment value, and therefore increases the tax revenue to the town. And that should, as you know, the budget shouldn't change so much, but as we increase that tax revenue, the amount the residents have to pay should go down. And look, I get the fees, right? I had to pay fees, but the fees are also a tax. So it would be nice to have alternative sources of revenue, because the residents still pay the fees. There's no way around it, but.
Thank you. So this leads me to a question that we don't have, but I'm curious. What would you do to improve your downtown? Does it need revitalization? In your dream world, what would happen? Ms. Karankiewicz.
Yeah, I think we need to work closely with the Chamber of Commerce. We need to work with the landlords to encourage them to bring in new storefronts and new businesses into our downtown. There was recently the Frank's Shoe Store building was renovated. It was actually just taken down and then rebuilt. And that property owner is now talking to different business owners to bring in additional businesses to our downtown. I also think it's important to have some more affordable housing around the downtown section, which is why I voted for the Post Office Plaza development that I had voted for, to bring more people downtown, brings more shoppers downtown, and encourages businesses to come to downtown. So I think that's important for us to, when we consider affordable housing, how we can increase around the downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore?
So I think one of the first things that we should do is to talk to the business owners downtown and the owners of property downtown. Because like Karen, I noticed when we first moved to Chatham in 2013, there was a barber shop there that was still open. And I got my hair cut one time and then it closed. And those storefronts were vacant for a long time. And I think it really boils down to that balance between the property owner's rights. The owner of that building didn't want to take on new tenants, because the ultimate plan was, as soon as Sherwin-Williams moved out, they were going to redevelop the building, right? So the first thing to do is to talk to property owners and business owners. And, we have some really successful businesses downtown, right? I mean, let's not forget about those. And what are they doing right? Like the Waffle Chicken place, I'm blanking on the name. That place always is full, and it has a symbiotic relationship between them, the patrons of that place, and they walk over and get their ice cream and scoops. So it's great, and it's really good, and I think we should encourage more of that kind of business coming in. Thank you.
Thank Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, I've said it a couple of times tonight. I mean, look, I agree with Ms. Karankiewicz. I think that again, smart real estate development, bring businesses into the downtown, working with the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, look, we should be talking to whomever we can to get another grocery store back in the borough. We need to get, all the major banks have left, you know, and we're going to convert one into an affordable housing property, which I think is a good idea. You know, I think we could also, the planning board can maybe think about some of the zoning to add retail to increase the value of the properties with affordable housing, market housing in and around the train station. These are good ideas to maintain the character of the broader borough and yet enhance the downtown to bring more people in and get them to shop and we need something to attract them to the downtown. So,
Thank you. Chatham has a low crime rate, including such minor incidents as car theft, unless it's your car. How do you propose to keep our town a safe and secure one? Mr. Gilmore.
I think that keeping our residents safe and free in the borough, free from crime, is one of the absolutely fundamental building blocks of good municipal governance. And we have to make sure that our police force has all of the tools that they need to keep us safe. That's why I've met with Chief Brian Gibbons and his staff a couple of times to get up to speed on how they run their operation. And I think we should always seek to understand what they do before we draw any conclusions. I do believe, though, that the data is headed absolutely in the right direction. So if you look at the residential burglary rate, I mean, obviously we want it to be 0, but so far in 2025, 2. That's an 88% decline versus the previous year, right? So we should be proud of that, and maybe we can bring it to 0 next year. But you know, home burglaries down 88%. We've replaced the ALPRs that recognize the tags on the back of cars. That is very much more effective. There are traffic safety improvements that we've made all around town. So these are all safety issues that we should be proud of and that we need to continue to do more of. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett.
So I think Chief Gibbons does an amazing job. I mean, when the car thefts were high, he put a task force together with the county, federal, and that made a huge difference. So I think we have a very well-educated police force, and I do support everything that those guys do. They have a dangerous job. You know, I also think that, look, improving the downtown, keeping it clean, getting storefronts opened up, brings people to downtown, right? People walking around, that lowers crime. I also think that, and I want this, maybe Ms. Kornkowicz, you can confirm this, but I do think one of the things that happened was there was a budget cut where we ended up going from 3 police on duty or 2 police on duty, or sorry, 4 police on duty to 3 police on duty, which made it harder for responses. I don't know if that's been reversed and brought back, but you know, we have to make sure that we continue to give our police officers the right resources. I know we just approved some new equipment for them in the last budget, but I also think we need to give them the manpower that is needed so that our officers aren't getting burnt out, leaving for different reasons. This used to be one of the best,
Thank you.
most attractive places for police to work. So,
Ms. Kornkowicz.
And thank you for setting me up, because yes, we have an excellent relationship with our police and our chief, and he did a comprehensive study to talk about scheduling and police presence, and he came to the conclusion, and we reviewed that with him, and we agreed that adding more police to our force was an important thing to do. We added 2 last year, we had 2 this year, we were adding 2 more this year as well. So, and that does allow for additional people on schedule. It makes sure that there are enough police force patrolling our streets so that if one person is out, it doesn't reduce the force to a significant degree. So we have worked with them, and you know, when our police need something and they present a case for it, and we agree with that case, we have been very supportive of everything that they've wanted. Our automatic license plate readers are some of the most effective and have led to many arrests, including the rest of the car thefts that were occurring and were a problem last year. So thank you.
What are the major challenges facing the community, and how would you propose addressing them? Mr. Gilmore.
I think there are quite a few. I think we have to find ways to meet the next round of affordable housing. We have to be as proactive as we can about it. I think that you know, whether or not people know this, the school population is actually declining right now. So I think that we need to make sure that we have families moving in here that actually can utilize the schools, and we don't have to lay off staff. I think there's many things, large and small, that we can do that make an instant impact on that daily quality of life. For example, when I was out canvassing a few weeks ago, I heard a number of residents complain about double parking on Main Street. And I think that, that's a quick and easy win. But I think everybody complains about traffic in Chatham, right? So there's only so much you can do. That's Main Street is a state route. So maybe we could work with Chief Gibbons to increase the police presence and actually enforce double parking on Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Korenkevich.
Yeah, I think some of the major things we need to do is to continue to make sure that we keep our taxes low and our services high. We do that through cost savings measures. Like I've mentioned, the service, debt service, and reducing that. We need to ensure that we're meeting our affordable housing obligations. We need to take a look at the River Road redevelopment plan to see if anything makes sense in that plan for us to move forward with. Mr. Brett mentioned the master plan. We are revising our master plan, and we need to make sure we do that in a very thoughtful way. And continued relationship with our police and making sure they have what they need, and making sure our DPW as well has what they need, and we focus on making sure our streets are safe and clean, and we have the maintenance that we need as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, I'm going to continue with what I've been saying all night. I think we need to, grow the local tax base through smart redevelopment and long-term planning. I think we need to revitalize our downtown to bring more people in, so that benefit everything we do down there: farmers market, Fish Whack Festival, restaurants, stores, etc. And I do think we need to embrace community engagement in a much better way, because I do think that the folks that want to be involved in the business of the town, of the borough, we should be hearing more from them and having a dialogue. And exactly how we can do that, I have a few ideas, changing some of the rules at the council meetings, different engagement opportunities. But I think those, to me, when I attend the council meetings, those are the constant issues. Taxes, like I said, very tough to bring down. So we have to grow that revenue base somehow. And we can do that if we are on top of our real estate needs.
Thank you. So I know that you are all incredibly accomplished and talented. However, I would like to hear your thoughts on what is the one best thing about your opponents. Ms. Korenkevich.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I know that you are all incredibly competent, talented, brilliant, and qualified. Name two good things about your opponents.
I think Mr. Barrett has experience in affordable housing, as he has said. I think he has accomplished business acumen. I'm going to leave it there.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett?
So do I get 2 minutes since there's two candidates? Mr.
Don't
Gilmore,
push
look, thank you for your service. I think your Army background and your business background certainly make you a strong candidate for anything, job, etc. And then I also appreciate your volunteerism. Obviously we're both in Scouts. That's super important to me. Ms. Korenkevich, I think you take your role on the council extremely seriously. You should be proud of that. And again, same thing you do a lot of volunteerism in the community, and I think that it is important that you're acknowledged for it.
Joe, I don't know you that well yet, but I think you're a great guy. I think you're a really good family man. I respect you a lot. I also admire the fact that you're involved in the Scouts and you're kind of giving back and bringing up the next generation of youth. And I think that you've got a lot of great qualifications, right? So Well, I know that you're on the planning board, right? Zoning board. So we appreciate your contributions there. So thanks for being so involved in the community. I think that's wonderful. Appreciate it.
And now let's close and give me 2 minutes of why you are the most fabulous person and why we should all vote for you. In reverse order, Mr. Gilmore.
Okay. So running for the Borough Council, even though it's an unpaid position, was for me a very serious decision. Once I decided, I have been all in and I've been canvassing throughout the borough, meeting with the professional staff and learning about the issues. We talked a little bit about smart development. I think that's important, but I think that we also have to balance that out with bringing more development into the town. Also brings the things that people don't like. It brings more traffic. It could bring more crime. So we just have to be careful with that. And I firmly believe that some of the traditions in this town, which we haven't talked about, Fishawak Festival, the white light ceremony, the farmers market, are really, really important to this town. Those little things really make us a community. So we need to keep those and make sure that we continue to nurture those. I believe that my tradition of service will resonate with voters. You can depend on me to be forthright and not hide from you. I will listen to all others with opposing viewpoints and respect them all. I will always listen to you, our residents, all of you, regardless of where you come from. And Joe, I said you're a great guy, and if I'm elected, I'll even represent you. I can assure you of that, because I think you're a great guy. I'm the kind of guy that at my office, I know the names of the cleaning crew, and I thank them for what they do. That's the kind of person I am. That's the character that I have. I hope this dispels any notion that someone might have that I'm overly partisan. I am not, just because I'm running as a Democrat. By nature and training, I'm a centrist and a pragmatist. The military teaches its officers to avoid expressing strong political beliefs. That means that I believe first and foremost in being true to the facts, listening to others, trying to find common ground, and collaborating to find solutions that everyone can support. I thank all of Chatham Borough for your consideration, all the residents who turned out tonight, including my wonderful wife, Mariella, who's sitting right there. Thank you for being here. For those residents who are watching via live stream, and the League of Women Voters and the Chatham Courier for all the work you do day in and day out to strengthen democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Karankovich.
As you can see from this healthy discussion, Chatham's challenges are not small, and you need a council that takes its responsibility seriously. I am not running just for the sake of running, or for some ill-conceived perception that there's no balance on the current council. I wish my opponent, Mr. Barrett, had brought more specific ideas to the table rather than just saying more development will help us in the end. I do believe I bring a unique perspective and background to the council. But not only that, I bring the perspective of the thousands of conversations I've had with residents. Through the many years of canvassing, I have probably knocked on every door in Chatham Borough. I've stood in the blazing sun and pouring rain at numerous events, including this past year's Fishawak. I have never limited this activity to one party. I have done all of this to ensure that I understand the varied issues, concerns, and perspectives of our residents. I believe that by fulfilling my promise to you to always look at every angle of each issue, to conduct the necessary due diligence and do the homework, and to gain the perspective of our residents, I have earned your trust to continue to thoughtfully navigate through Chatham's challenges. I don't take this responsibility lightly, and I will continue, if reelected, to fulfill my promise to you. I also believe that Miles Gilmore would be an excellent addition given his background to the council. I thank the League of Women Voters in the Morris area and New Jersey Hills Media for hosting this event, and to Mr. Barrett for his participation. I also thank the residents of Chatham who submitted the questions. I continue to be excited to serve the residents of Chatham, and I hope I have earned your trust. So please vote on November 4th. And when you vote, please vote for Miles Gilmore and myself, Karen Kornkevich, for Chatham Borough Council. We will serve you well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett.
So again, thank the League and New Jersey Hills Media for hosting Miles. Karen, I appreciate your participation greatly. Look, I do want to say one thing. We are so lucky to sit here and be able to have this conversation for a couple of reasons. One, our country, we all live in America, which allows for this type of free speech and debate. And I think the borough is lucky to have folks to, regardless of who wins this election, we are lucky to have a highly educated and willingness of our volunteers to go through this process, sit on the council, do the work. So from that perspective, I think the borough is extremely lucky. I will say that, today, Charlie Kirk was a political activist who was, I don't know if you know this, but he was shot and killed today while at an event. And so we have to keep in mind that folks out there, regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, they put themselves out there, and folks take a lot of opposition to it. So from my perspective, my background, my leadership, my skills, my goal is to bring the town together, not just build for the sake of building, but plan and be smart about it so we can meet our affordable housing needs and improve the downtown. We want to preserve this community. We all moved here for the small town charm and the schools. And again, I think I'm here to help improve the overall community engagement. But regardless of the outcome of the election, I think the people of Chatham are lucky to have the folks that are willing to do this and take their time to help manage the town properly.
I think we're all very lucky to have heard from you tonight with such very thoughtful words. Let's thank them. But before I let you go, I want to thank the candidates. I want to thank the League for volunteering. I want to thank the audience for attending. I want to thank you out there in Cyberland for listening and for being willing to hear and take part in this democratic organization that is our government. You'll be voting for two of these candidates for Chatham Borough Council. And we will hear closing words from League of Women Voters.
Yeah, this was a great debate, and we are grateful to our co-sponsor, New Jersey Hills Media, for their nonpartisan participation and support, and look forward to continuing our work together. We also thank the candidates, Mr. Barrett, Ms. Karen Courier, and Mr. Gilmore for showing up to this debate. We thank our timer, Ms. Allison Kogan, and our moderator, Ms. Michelle Bobro, and the volunteers who helped make this evening possible. Thank you to the audience watching or attending now and watching later for being active participants in the democratic process. Remember to make your vote count in the New Jersey primary election. There are 3 ways to vote: vote by mail, early in person with a machine starting October 25th, or on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th. To learn more about early voting, vote by mail, polling locations, and other voting information, visit vote411.org. And now for the small print. The content of this forum is owned by the League of Women Voters. Only the League may record this forum. The recording can be viewed on the Morse Area League YouTube channel and website, and the League of Women Voters New Jersey website. We encourage you to share the link, but remind you that the recording can only be shared in its entirety. It cannot be downloaded, and the footage may not be edited in any way. The League name, logo, recording, and materials from this event cannot be used in a way that could lead a viewer or a reader to infer in League support or opposition to a candidate or party. So with that, thank you and enjoy the rest of the evening.
No, you did a great job. You did a great job.
Yeah, well done. Joe. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you for doing this.